A narcissist doesn't just want attention, they crave control. It fuels them, it feeds their fragile ego. And when you begin to pull away, when you start showing signs of emotional strength, independence, or self-worth, they don't see it as growth. They see it as rebellion, a threat. They've built their world on being the center of yours, and the moment you begin to see through the illusion, the mask starts to slip. At first, they might pretend to be proud of you. They'll say things like, "I always knew you were strong," or "You're finally becoming the person I believed you could be." But underneath those words is a tight, invisible grip that's beginning to loosen. They aren't complimenting you. They're surveying the damage to their influence. They're watching their ability to manipulate you crumble, brick by brick. You're not the same person who once questioned themselves because of their subtle jabs and emotional withdrawals. You're stronger now, more self-aware. You've started reclaiming your identity, and that terrifies them. Because to a narcissist, your strength isn't just inconvenient, it's unacceptable. In their world, they must always be superior. If you grow too confident, too self-assured, you challenge their illusion of dominance. And when that illusion is threatened, they can't help themselves. They have to do something. That's when the real danger begins. See, the narcissist doesn't lose easily. They're not just going to walk away and admit defeat. No, they're going to play one last card, the dirtiest one in their deck. But before they do, there's this moment, this unsettling quiet. A storm, distant, retive, and then hoping you'll step in and say your SUOist. They flip. That shift in energy isn't random, it's calculated. It's the beginning of the last, desperate play to break your spirit. You've likely experienced the early stages of this power struggle, where they question your decisions, minimize your achievements, or pretend not to notice the positive changes you're making. But now they realize those tactics aren't working. You're no longer seeking their approval. You're no longer begging for validation. That's when they panic, but they don't show it as panic. They show it as charm or pity or rage, sometimes all three in quick succession. The moment they sense that you're becoming untouchable, they morph into whatever version of themselves might still get through to you. One minute they're praising you, the next they're punishing you with silence. And in the blink of an eye, they're accusing you of changing, of being cold, of being someone they can't recognize anymore. That's not confusion, that's strategy. That's the narcissist realizing they're losing their grip and trying to pull you back before you're completely out of reach. But what they don't understand, what they can't comprehend, is that once someone truly wakes up, they don't go back to sleep. Once you see the pattern, the manipulation, the emotional sabotage, you can't unsee it. And that's why your strength is their greatest fear. It reminds them of everything they're not, everything they pretend to be. Your growth exposes their facade. Your healing reveals their harm, so they'll try, one last time, to drag you back into the cycle, not because they love you, but because they need your weakness to feel strong. But here's the truth they don't want you to realize. If your strength triggers their cruelty, it was never love to begin with. When you finally pull away from a narcissist, really pull away, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that's when the game changes. And not in a peaceful way. See, narcissists don't handle rejection well. They can't just accept that you're done, that you've outgrown their manipulation. They see your escape not as an ending, but as a challenge. They take your silence as a threat to their ego, and that ego is everything to them. So when they realize you're truly strong enough to walk away, they reach for the one tactic they believe always works, their last dirty trick. They try to suck you back in. It's called hoovering, like the vacuum cleaner, and it's exactly what it sounds like. A desperate attempt to pull you back into the cycle of manipulation. They know you're slipping away, and they can't bear to lose that control. So they do what they've always done best. They perform. They become the version of themselves they think you want, the charming one, the loving one, the broken one. Whatever mask they need to wear to get you to look back, just once, just enough to crack the door open. This stage is tricky because it can be incredibly convincing. They might send you a message out of nowhere that says something like, "I miss you. I've been thinking about all the good times." Or maybe it's a full-blown apology, something they've never really done before. "I know I hurt you. I was wrong. I've been going to therapy. I want to change." And part of you, the part that once loved them, the part that wanted so badly for it to have meant something, pauses. Even if just for a moment, that's all they need, because hoovering doesn't require your full trust. It only needs your hesitation. If they can get you to respond, they can start pulling those old emotional strings again. They'll remind you of how it used to be in the beginning, before things got twisted. They'll play the victim, they'll cry, or they'll pretend to be completely indifferent and throw subtle jabs like, "It's sad you became so cold." They're testing the waters, fishing for a reaction, any reaction. The danger here is real, because in that moment you might forget why you left. You might forget how many times you cried yourself to sleep, how many times you were made to feel small, worthless, crazy. You might second-guess your decision, especially if they seem genuinely remorseful. But understand this, they don't miss you. They miss the control. They miss the version of you that doubted yourself, that accepted less, that needed their approval. They don't want the healed, empowered version of you. They want the one they could manipulate. And if hoovering doesn't work through kindness or apologies, they'll switch gears fast. Suddenly they might get cold, cruel, start blaming you. "You're the narcissist. You're impossible to love. You never cared about me." That flip isn't new, it's their fallback. It's their last-ditch effort to stir chaos. Because if they can't have your love, they'll settle for your pain. But you have to remember, the person hoovering you now is the same one who gaslit you, disrespected your boundaries, and fed off your confusion. Their words are carefully chosen, not from the heart, but from the playbook of manipulation. This isn't a breakthrough, it's a trap. A trap dressed in nostalgia, emotion, and false hope. And the moment you fall for it, the cycle starts again. This time, don't look back. When a narcissist realizes they can't control you anymore, when they finally understand that your strength isn't a phase but a permanent shift, they don't just walk away quietly. That's not how they operate. Letting you go and letting you live in peace would mean accepting defeat, and their ego simply won't allow that. So when emotional manipulation fails, when hoovering doesn't pull you back in, they reach for something darker. They begin a smear campaign, not just against your name, but against your truth. It's their attempt to win the war by rewriting the story. See, narcissists need to be seen as the victim. It's essential to their image. They can't bear to have people know who they truly are, so they preemptively destroy your credibility before you can reveal it. And the way they do it is both cunning and brutal. They start telling people things like, "I tried everything, but they were impossible to please." Or "They've changed. They're not the person I fell in love with." Sometimes it's even worse. They'll claim you were abusive, that you were unstable, that you're lying about what happened, and the worst part, they often do it in a way that seems calm, concerned, and heart-breakingly sincere. To outsiders, it looks like they're hurting, like they're confused and trying to make sense of what went wrong. But you know the truth. You know that the pain they're showing the world isn't real, it's rehearsed. It's a mask they put on to get sympathy, to gain allies, and to paint you as the problem. What's really happening is they're scrambling to regain control of the narrative. Because if they can't control you anymore, the next best thing is to control how others see you. That way, they still get to feel powerful, still get to feel like they're winning. It doesn't matter how much damage they cause in the process. Narcissists don't care about truth, they care about perception. If they can isolate you, turn friends or even family against you, they feel like they've regained some kind of power over your life. You may start hearing things through the grapevine, comments from mutual friends that don't sound quite right. People pulling away without explanation, or others reaching out with concern, not realizing they've already been fed a twisted version of your story. It's infuriating, it's exhausting, because you're not just dealing with the pain of what they did to you. You're now dealing with the aftermath of their lies. This tactic is designed to corner you, to make you feel alone, misunderstood, and defenseless. It's an attempt to provoke a reaction, to make you lash out so they can point and say, "See, I told you they were crazy." They want you emotional. They want you off balance. That way, their version of reality becomes the dominant one. But here's the thing. They may control the story for a while, but they can't control the truth forever. People eventually see through the lies, patterns emerge, the mask slips, and the narcissist always reveals themselves, usually when they least expect it. Your job is not to fight their lies with more noise. Your job is to stand in your truth, even when it feels like no one's listening. Especially then, because the smear campaign isn't really about what others believe. It's about making you question yourself. And when you refuse to be shaken by it, you strip them of the last bit of power they thought they had. Their lies can't destroy the truth. One of the most dangerous tools in a narcissist's arsenal is gaslighting. It's not just lying. It's psychological manipulation designed to make you question your memory, your reality, your sanity. And when all their other tactics start to fail, when your strength makes their charm, their guilt, trips, and their hoovering ineffective, they double down on this one. Because if they can't control what you do, they'll try to control what you believe. It starts subtly. You'll notice it in small contradictions. You bring up something they said last week, and they'll swear they never said it. You express hurt over something they did, and they look at you like you've imagined the whole thing. That never happened. You're overreacting. You always twist things. These are not random comments. They're calculated attacks on your reality. The goal isn't to win an argument. It's to make you doubt your ability to trust yourself. You may begin to second-guess your own emotions. Was I too sensitive? Maybe I misunderstood. You might even find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do, just to keep the peace. That's the trap. Gaslighting isn't just meant to confuse you. It's meant to exhaust you, to drain you of your confidence until you begin relying on the narcissist to define your reality for you. And the more you rely on them, the more power they reclaim. When you start gaining clarity, when you start setting boundaries, they can sense the shift. That's when the gaslighting escalates. It's no longer about small denials. It becomes a complete rewrite of the past. They'll tell you the relationship was never that bad, that you were the one who caused most of the problems, that they were the victim, and if you push back, they'll accuse you of being irrational or emotionally unstable. The irony is staggering, but when you're caught in the middle of it, it doesn't feel ironic. It feels like you're losing your grip on what's real. And that's exactly what they want, because when you're confused, you're vulnerable. When you start questioning yourself, you become easier to manipulate. You start depending on them for clarity, for reassurance, and that opens the door for them to regain control. Even if you've already walked away, they'll try to gaslight you from a distance through mutual friends, through text messages, through social media posts designed to bait a reaction. They want you to feel like you're still entangled in their version of reality. But here's the truth. Your memory isn't broken. Your instincts aren't wrong. What you experienced was real, and the pain you carry is not an overreaction. It's a response to being constantly dismissed and twisted into someone you were never meant to be. Gaslighting is one of the final weapons a narcissist uses because it's the most disorienting. It doesn't just break your heart. It tries to dismantle your mind. It's a slow unraveling of self-trust, and once that's gone, they know it'll be that much harder for you to stand up for yourself again. But the fact that you're even starting to recognize it is proof you're waking up. And once you wake up, their grip begins to weaken. That fog you've been living in, it clears, one truth at a time. You begin to piece yourself back together, and the narcissist. They panic, because they can no longer define you. They fear the moment you trust yourself more than you trust their lies. If you've ever dealt with a narcissist, you know this truth too well. The very things that make you a beautiful, compassionate, emotionally intelligent person are the exact things they weaponize against you: your empathy, your kindness, your loyalty, your desire to understand and forgive. These qualities in a healthy relationship are strengths. They create connection, safety, trust. But with a narcissist, those same traits become tools they twist and turn to keep you under their control. It doesn't happen all at once. In the beginning, they admire your sensitivity. They call you special, intuitive, rare. They act like your heart is a gift they've been waiting their whole life to receive. But over time, that admiration turns into exploitation. Slowly, they begin to test the limits of your compassion. They hurt you, then watch how quickly you forgive. They lie and observe whether your love makes excuses for their behavior. And when you do, because you want to believe in them, because you want to believe love can heal, they make a mental note. That's when the shift happens. That's when empathy becomes a trap. When the relationship turns toxic, you'll hear things like, "You don't really care about me if you walk away." Or, "After everything I've been through, you're going to abandon me too." These aren't heartfelt confessions. They're manipulation. It's not about them being vulnerable. It's about making you feel guilty for setting boundaries. And it works, especially if you're someone who leads with your heart. Because deep down, you want to help. You want to fix. You want to be the one person who stays when everyone else leaves. But that's the illusion. Narcissists don't want healing. They want control. They want your empathy to keep you stuck, constantly questioning yourself, constantly giving more than you receive. They'll even go as far as flipping the script and calling you the selfish one, the cold one. You're the narcissist, they'll say with a straight face, fully aware of what they're doing. And because you're introspective, because you're willing to consider your flaws, you pause. You reflect. You wonder, what if I really am the problem? That pause is all they need. This is why narcissists love empaths. Because empaths have the tendency to see the pain behind the behavior, to search for the wounded child inside the abuser. But here's the thing, no amount of love can save someone who is committed to manipulating you. No amount of compassion will fill the bottomless pit of someone who refuses to take accountability. You can drown trying to save someone who is perfectly capable of swimming, but would rather watch you sink just to feel powerful. And it's not your job to heal people who keep hurting you. It's not your responsibility to sacrifice your peace for someone who only shows remorse when they're afraid of losing control. You were never weak for caring. You were never naive for loving deeply. Your empathy was never the problem. Their abuse of it was. At the end of the day, the weapon wasn't your heart. It was how they used it against you. One of the hardest truths to accept when dealing with a narcissist is that there is no final moment of closure, no peaceful goodbye, no heartfelt conversation where everything suddenly makes sense. That kind of resolution, that clean emotional break we all crave after pain, doesn't exist in their world. Narcissists don't operate with honesty. They don't part ways with integrity. They don't give you the dignity of real closure because, in their mind, letting you go on your terms would mean admitting they never had the final say. And they always want the final say. When you're finally strong enough to walk away, to draw the line and mean it, they'll likely act like they don't care. Or worse, they'll pretend you were the problem all along. They might ignore you completely, move on overnight, or jump into a new relationship just to prove how replaceable you are. But don't let that fool you. That silence, that indifference, that cold detachment, it isn't peace, it's punishment. It's their way of twisting the knife one last time, hoping it leaves a scar that keeps you wondering what you did wrong. And that's the cruelty of it. They leave you haunted, not by the love you shared because deep down you know it wasn't real, but by the confusion they carefully constructed. You question yourself, you replay every conversation, you dissect every argument. Not because you miss them, but because your brain is still trying to make sense of something that was never meant to be logical in the first place. It was never about truth, it was about control. That's what makes the healing process so difficult. You're not just recovering from heartbreak. You're recovering from psychological warfare, from emotional manipulation so deep and so constant that it made you forget who you were. And the worst part, they walk away like none of it mattered, like you never mattered. That's the final blow, and it's the one that lingers. But here's what you need to understand. Their lack of closure is their final act of control. It's their way of keeping you tethered to the past, replaying old memories, questioning your worth. If they gave you the decency of a real goodbye, you might have the clarity to move on. And they can't have that. Not because they want you back, but because they want to know they still occupy space in your mind. That even in your silence, you're still fighting battles they created. The truth is, real closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. It comes from deciding that their story about you is not your truth, that their silence is not a reflection of your value, that their inability to love was never about you being unlovable. Closure is what happens when you stop seeking answers from someone who was never honest to begin with, when you stop expecting accountability from someone who built their identity on avoiding it. You won't get the apology you deserve. You won't get the validation you hoped for, but what you will get, once the fog lifts, is your power back. Your peace, your clarity, and eventually, your freedom from needing anything from them at all. The day you stop waiting for closure is the day you finally begin to heal.